Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. We're going to be doing notes today, so if you don't have it in front of you, go get a sheet of paper and a pencil so you are able to write these notes. And at the top of your paper, you're going to write product of powers property, and this is lesson 10.2. Just like last time, pause the video at any time if you need more time writing, or replay what I have already said if you don't understand something. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the product of powers property. So we're going to figure out what this property is and what it means by doing these couple of examples here. So let me grab my pen. The first thing that we're going to do is expand it out. For all of these problems that we're going to talk about today, if you don't remember how to do it, the first thing that you can do is expand it out, and you'll see what I mean later on. So we're going to expand this out. I know that 2 to the second means 2 times 2. And then between those, I have some multiplication, so I'm going to add my multiplication symbol there. And then the second thing that I have is 2 to the fourth. And I know that means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 4 times. So in order to combine that all together and simplify that, so I'm not looking at this mess, and I'm definitely not looking at that mess. All I'm going to do is I know that my base is a repeated factor. This is all the same number. These are all 2's. So I know my base is going to be a 2. Now I just need to count how many 2's I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my exponent is going to be a 6, and that's going to be my answer, 2 to the 6th power. It's simplifying it so you only have to look at one exponent and not 2. We're combining them, and we can combine them because they have the same base. These both have a base of 2. So if we're looking at this one here, we've got negative 3 to the second. I know that negative 3 to the second looks like this when you expand it out. And then I've got negative 3 to the fourth, so negative 3 written out 4 times. 3 and 4. Again, I can see that we're repeating the same exact number every single time. So I know that's going to be my base. Now I'm going to count how many times it's been written out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So I'm going to put it to the 6th power. So I know when I simplify this, I'm going to get negative 3 to the 6th power. Our last one down here, same exact thing. We're going to write out 1/2 3 times to represent this first part there. And then we're going to write out 1/2 3 more times to represent this number here. Again, we're combining these, and so I know that my base is going to be 1/2 because that's the number that's being repeated, and it happens 6 different times. And so that is my answer there. So there is a simpler way to do this, and maybe you've noticed it. So what's happening and what rule can we write? If you notice, we can look at these exponents. We've got a 2, a 4, and then a 6. A 3, a 3, and then a 6. So think about what's happening with those exponents. If you notice, we're adding the exponents and we're keeping whatever the base is. So we have the same number, so we're going to check to make sure they're the same number, and then we're going to copy down that base. And then we're going to add those 2 exponents to get whatever exponent our answer is. Now it's your turn. Pause the video, try these 3 problems, and then I'll give you your answers in a second. And here's our answers. So we've got 7 to the 5th, 5.1 to the 7th, and -4 to the 4th. If you got all of those right, good job. If you did not get all those right, make sure that you email me. So next we've got the powers of powers property. So this is our second property that we're learning today. I don't know what the rule is yet, so the first thing that I'm going to do is expand it out to try to figure out what that rule is. So if we're looking at that first one, we've got 3 to the 2nd to the 3rd. This one looks a little bit confusing, but what we're going to do is we're going to think about this as our base, because our base is everything inside of our parentheses, and then this is our exponent. So when I expand this out, I get 3 to the 2nd times 3 to the 2nd times 3 to the 2nd. So we're writing it out 3 times because our exponent is a 3. We can either expand this out further, or we can just use the property that we just learned. So expanding it out would mean that we are writing out 2 3s times 2 3s times 2 3s. So 6 3s in total. Or we can use what we just learned and say 2 plus 2 plus 2 is going to equal 6. So we're going to keep our base, and our exponent is a 6. Problem number 2, same thing. Everything inside of the parentheses is our base, and that is our exponent. So I've got 2 to the 2nd times 2 to the 2nd, and we're doing this out 4 different times. And then from there, we can add our exponents because we just learned that we needed to do that. So 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 2 is 6, 6 plus 2 is going to be 8. So our answer is going to be 2 to the 8th power. Our last one is y to the 3rd to the 3rd. So again, base, exponent, we're just going to write this out. And then from there, I notice that our base is just a y. And then we're going to add the exponents. 3 plus 3 is 9, plus 3 is, 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 3 is 9. So stop. So we have y to the 9th. And that's going to be our answer. Again, just like the last one, this one has a rule. So think about what's happening and what rule we can write with this one. If you notice, we are multiplying the exponents and keeping the base. So 2 times 3 gives us a 6, we keep the 3. 2 times 4 gives us an 8, we keep the 2. 3 times 3 gives us a 9, and then we keep the y. Notice the difference between this property and the last property that we were working with. Give me a second to write down an example. Okay, I have the examples written out over here. So what do you notice about the differences here? There's only one really big difference, and that is how many bases there are. And so when you're trying to figure out which one of these to use, look at how many bases there are. So you're going to use product of powers or your addition if there's 2 different bases. And then you're going to use your power of powers or your multiplication if there's only one base, but still two exponents. So try these three problems on your own. Pause the video. In a second, I'll give you the answers. And those are our answers. So for the first one, we have 7 to the 6th, and then x to the 8th, and then 3 to the 24th. If you got these wrong, please email me and we can work it out together. So our last one is powers of products. So again, I don't know what the rule is, so what I'm going to do is just expand this out. So I know that this is my base because it's everything inside the parentheses, and this is my exponent. So I'm going to write out the base 3 different times. And what I have is 2 times 3 times 2 times 3 times 2 times 3. Now I know that I can't combine it if it's not the same number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rearrange this. So I know I can group up my 2's. So I'm going to use the commutative property to actually change the order so I'm looking at something that I can actually do something with. And then we have our 3's as well. We've got multiple 3's. So I'm going to group those up. So that's times 3 times 3 times 3. Now I can simplify this. So I'm looking at my 2's first. I've got 3 different 2's, so that means that I have 2 to the 3rd. Next I have my 3's, so that is my base because it's what's being repeated. And I know I have 3 of them, so it's 3 to the 3rd. And that whole thing is my final answer. For this one, same thing. That's my base, that's my exponent. So I know I'm writing this out 4 different times with multiplication signs between each one. And I'm going to write 6a on each of those. We're smart 8th graders. We know when we're dealing with 6a that there's multiplication between those two. So technically we're looking at 6 times a times 6 times a times 6 times a, so on and so forth, just like that last problem. And so we're going to treat it the exact same. So I am looking at grouping up my 6's. So I'm going to write out 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. Next thing I have to group is my A's. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. So A times A times A times A. Sorry, this is rough. And then I'm going to simplify it. So I know my base is 6 to start off with. And then I know I have 4 6's. So I'm going to do it to the 4th. And then my last one, I have the base of A, and then there's 4 A's. And that's going to be my final answer. Maybe you're seeing the pattern between these, so we're going to talk about that right now. So what's happening? What's going to be the rule? So if you look, you might have noticed that we keep our 2 bases, so we've got, or 2 numbers in the base. So we've got a 2 and we've got a 3, 2 and we've got a 3. We have a 6, we have an A, we keep the 6, we keep the A. And we're kind of just distributing out whatever that exponent is. So we have 2 to the 3rd and 3 to the 3rd. We have 6 to the 4th and A to the 4th. So if you think about doing it that way, what's this going to be? Let's see. We're going to kind of distribute out that 2 to both of those in there. So we're going to have a base of 2 and then an exponent of 2. And then that's going to be multiplied by 5 to the second. And that's going to be our final answer. And so the question is, what's happening? So what we're doing is we're distributing the exponent to the 2 numbers that are inside the base. And now it's your turn. So try these 3 problems again, pause the video, email me if you get a lot of them wrong or don't feel confident on it. And here are your answers. So we've got 5 to the third times 4 to the third, 3 to the second times x to the second, and x to the 9th times y to the 9th. And so here's the summary of the 3 things that we learned. This is on page 418 in your textbook. I think it's a really good resource because it puts it all together in a well-organized fashion. So if you want to copy this down, you can pause and do so, or you can print this out or find it in your textbook. And here's your homework. So we're going to be working on page 420, and you're going to be doing those problems. Make sure that you get it done on a separate sheet of paper, and it's going to be due on Friday. However, we do have a Zoom tomorrow, so try to start working on it by then, getting the majority of the problems done. So if you've got questions, you can ask me during that Zoom.